What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode on EI Entertainment Studios, back at it with another debate episode. Today's debate episode, we're going to be talking about Mecha Godzilla 2021 versus legendary Destoroyah. So here's the plan, folks. We're going to go over the backstories and genuinely dive into these creatures and analyze them. And once we're done with that process, we're going to put them up against each other in a death battle. So, without further ado, let's begin with the backstory and let's analyze Mecha Godzilla 2021. So, Mecha Godzilla was created by Apex Cybernetics and powered through King Ghidorah's cut-off head. However, King Ghidorah's consciousness takes over the robot and essentially controls Mecha Godzilla. Now, for the abilities, we're going to do a quick skim. We're going to go all over Mecha Godzilla. We're going to come back before we move on and do a deep analysis of each ability of Mecha Godzilla, so do not worry. But for now, just a quick skim just to know what we're working with. So, we have Buzzsaw claws, heavy metal durability, missiles, proton scream, thrusters, and tail drill. Okay, territorial level is none, aggression is maximum, biome is Earth, and the height of the creature is around 119.8 meters tall for Mecha Godzilla. Alright, now what we're going to do is going to go back to the abilities and do a deep analysis. Let's see what each is, one by one, defining them and see what's the point of them, right? Alright, so let's get to that. So, first of all, we have the Buzzsaw claws. So the only thing I could compare this to in a kaiju sense would be Gigan. You know, Gigan has that saw, or whatever you want to call it, chainsaw on the chest. This is on the claws, or near the claws, I should say. And it's just a big saw, like a buzzsaw. It's in the name. And it just rips open flesh and just destroys buildings. It could basically cut through anything. That's how powerful it is. These are the Buzzsaw claws. That's basically all they do, but they are a very good defensive and offensive ability to ward off opponents and to hurt opponents, right? Alright. Next we have is the heavy metal durability. This is more of a defensive ability purely, and his body, the make of Mecha Godzilla's body, is pure steel-like material, and it's very difficult to break through, right? Which makes him basically be able to take a lot of damage, is what this is trying to portray, or the ability, right? So the heavy metal durability, right there. After that, we have missiles. So yes, he can shoot missiles. Now these missiles are not really anything that's gonna hurt someone like, let's say, Godzilla, for example, but, or even in this case, Legendary Destoroyah, but they are definitely good to distract the opponents. Very good distraction, but damage-wise, it's not really there. But the next one can definitely do a lot of damage. The Proton Scream. The Proton Scream is almost a replica of Godzilla's, the regular Godzilla's, atomic breath. It is a red beam, pure electricity formed, and it's basically a replica, as I said, of Godzilla's atomic breath in a robotic sense. It is way more powerful. It's way more powerful. Not way more, but way, way more powerful than Godzilla's atomic breath. I don't know if you saw the film, but it completely overpowers the atomic breath. It has more force, and it's more focused. Because of that, since it's more focused, it's more hot. And it causes more power, and it takes up more energy too at the same time. So yes, it's very powerful. It's definitely competing with the top 3 Godzilla atomic breaths of all time. That's what I mean. All right, and then we have thrusters. Basically, he has like these rockets on each side, and he can thrust from left to right. And by doing that, he can do like a jumping punch, which is so powerful. He can just break a jaw by doing that with the thrusters. And he can also use that to kind of evade his opponents as well. It's not only for attacking. And the tail drill. At the end of the tail, he does have a drill. He can use that to rip into the flesh of the opponents and or break things around him. Kind of similar to the Buzzsaw claws, right? So that's actually going to sum up Mecha Godzilla 2021. Let's go to Legendary Destoroyah. So, Legendary Destroyer came into existence after the US Army shot the Oxygen Destroyer at Godzilla and King Ghidorah fighting in the ocean, and the blast was strong enough to blast Godzilla into a complete shock and severe physical damage. It did nothing to King Ghidorah, as the laws of physics of Earth do not apply to a creature from a different realm, but the chemical reaction with the Oxygen Destroyer, Godzilla and King Ghidorah created a new organism who hates the existence of oxygen itself, known as Legendary Destroyer. So this is the backstory that I came up with, assuming if Legendary Destroyer were to be a real creature. He might be, maybe, we'll see. Now, abilities, we're going to do a quick skim, same process, so let's go on with that. Anti-Oxygen Blast, Crown of the Fallen King Zap, Stomach Tongue, sounds nasty, right? Because it is, we'll get into it, don't worry. Tail Grip, Super Spiny Skin, and Eye Blast. Height is 145 meters tall, Territorial is none, Aggression exceeds the maximum level. It exceeds the maximum level, oh yeah, oh it definitely does. And Biome is unlimited point of life, and I will explain that as we're going through the abilities, which is right now. So, let's begin. The Anti-Oxygen Blast. This one is interesting because Destroyer himself, even obviously including Legendary Destroyer, is made off of anti-oxygen, the Oxygen Destroyer. So every time he uses his blast from his body, from his mouth, wherever he wants to shoot it from, this Destroyer isn't only subject to using the oxygen blast from the mouth, but can shoot it from all parts of the body. So that's why he's very powerful. And with that being said, obviously, every time he does that, he kills the oxygen in anywhere he shoots. Assuming it's an organ of an opponent, all of the oxygen dies. Therefore, that organ or body part will die of that opponent. Absolutely incredible, and powerful, and scary. Next, we have the Crown of the Fallen King Zap. Now, he does have this horn on top of his head, and through that he uses the Fallen King Zap. And what this actually does is it actually cancels gravity for a mere 50 seconds. It cancels gravity in that, let's say, 1 mile radius. And with that being said, not only does it cancel gravity around what's happening, but the opponent's organs start going everywhere, right? Imagine the heart's moving all over the place because there's nothing holding it in place. The gravity is out of balance. And because of that, the opponent, if it's not strong enough, he could die from that, just simply plainly put it like that, and you could just make the opponent go very, very dizzy and black out, and it just left for Legendary Destroyer to just finish him off, right? That's Crown of the Fallen King Zap. The Stomach Tongue. Ew. It sounds so weird and gooey, right? As it is. It's nasty. So, the Stomach Tongue. So if you guys notice, Legendary Destroyer has this weird bulge on the stomach. Well, the original Destroyer didn't really have anything to do with that part, but this one uses that as a function, right? With that, it opens up and a tongue comes out of it, and it's full of teeth, and it swipes at its opponents, ripping up the flesh anytime. And then if it can, it grabs a hold of it, pulls it near the bulge, and the bulge opens up with teeth inside and starts munching on the flesh of the opponent, and just blood and organs are flying everywhere. Very powerful, disgusting, and hostile ability. Next we have the Tail Grip. So at the bottom he has, at the end I should say, not the bottom, but yeah, at the end of the tail, oh there you go, there's Destroyer for you. At the bottom of the tail, Destroyer has these pinchers, and he can grip the opponents, and it's so powerful, he can lift them up with that and throw them over 100 meters. That is incredibly powerful and incredibly far, and with that power, he can send them very, very far. Very far. Alright, now, with that being said, next we have the Super Spiny Skin. His skin is very spiny, very powerful, meaning it's very difficult to penetrate him. It's very difficult to penetrate him, meaning the chances of an opponent doing damage to this creature is very, very low. Alright, and then finally, we have the Eye Blast. And from the eyes, he can shoot out a laser that can just... It's like a poison. It's more of a poison than a laser, I should say. And basically what it does is it completely blinds the opponents for about a minute. And they can't see what's happening, and they're just getting attacked by this creature back and forth. So it's a very powerful ability, right? I mean, imagine the most important part of a combat is having eyesight, and it's gone. That is dangerous. Very, very dangerous. Alright. And to finally finish it off, why Legendary Destroyer's life is unlimited, when we talked about that, I said I would explain that, and this is why. He is made out of the Oxygen Destroyer. So if he can live without oxygen, that means he can live almost anywhere, right? Therefore, he's almost immortal. Unless he's ripped apart, but other than that, placed into anywhere, as in like environmental-wise, when I said the biome, he is almost immortal like that. Alright. Well, this is going to sum up both of these giant kaijus. We can now go and put them in the death battle. Now, we're going to go close range and far range. Here's the deal. Far range is used to identify how these opponents can defeat each other if some of the abilities are restricted. So it's a very good way of testing them, right? And so they cannot come closer than 700 meters apart, meaning there is absolutely no physical contact at all. Zero. So, and then the next one would be close range. We'll go into that once we get there. So, let's see what abilities Legendary Destroyer can or cannot use in terms of far range. Remember, there is absolutely no physical touching. No physical contact, I should say. And so they're 700 meters apart. So, Anti-Oxygen Blast can be used, of course. Crown of the Fallen King Zap. Yes. Stomach Tongue. No. It's not going to stretch 7... I mean, if that tongue was 700 meters long, that's one scary tongue. But unfortunately, that's not the case. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Tail Grip obviously needs physical touch, so that's also restricted, and we cannot use that in the battle. Super Spiny Skin, doesn't matter, sure. Eye Blast, yes. So basically the Stomach Tongue and the Tail Grip are restricted. They cannot be used. Okay, now let's see what abilities Mecha Godzilla 2021 can or cannot use. That one is going to be an interesting one. So let's go and check that out. Buzzsaw Claws obviously require physical touch, so that cannot be used. Heavy Metal Durability, sure, it's nothing to do with range. Proton Scream, yes. Thrusters, sure, as long as it's defensive, not offensive. And Tail Drill, I'm gonna say just for breaking stuff down, but we're just gonna say no, because we're assuming he's gonna use it on the opponent. So basically, the only thing Mecha Godzilla can use is the missiles and the Proton Scream. Alright, the missiles and the Proton Scream. It's very limited, very limited. So at far range, I personally believe that... I was gonna say Mecha Godzilla, but no. I personally believe, since the aggression is so high, that Legendary Destroyer is going to attack first. He's going to attack first by using the Anti-Oxygen Blast. Now, that is a very powerful ability, one of the most powerful abilities that he possesses, but that's actually going to do nothing, absolutely nothing to Mecha Godzilla 2021. Why? Because he doesn't live or breathe. He is a robot controlled by a manipulative mind through telepathy of King Ghidorah. He doesn't really need oxygen. So, Anti-Oxygen Blast, not really going to do anything. So, that's kind of useless, and that's really going to piss off Mecha Godzilla. And Mecha Godzilla is obviously going to respond back with the Proton Scream, and that's going to do some damage to Legendary Destroyer. I'll bet you that. It'll do some damage, and it'll definitely break off a spine or two. Now, with that being said, that's basically... I mean, the missiles, he can shoot the missiles, but the missiles are really useless, especially from that far of a range. But, as I was saying, the Proton Scream is going to really cause some damage for Legendary Destoroyah. But with that being said, the Crown of the Fallen King Zap, he can also use that, but that's meant to blind the opponents. Now, Mecha Godzilla doesn't really have an actual eye, does it? It's camera lenses at the end of the day, or some type of technology, so that's also deemed useless. So with that being said, the only thing left is the Eye Blast, and the Eye Blast is definitely powerful, but it's not even comparable to the Proton Scream. So with the far distance level, Legendary Destoroyah is very low chances of winning, really, in my opinion, when you put 2 and 2 together. And I believe through all these abilities, Mecha Godzilla 2021 will annihilate Legendary Destoroyah from far range with the Proton Scream and just rip him to pieces, because it's so powerful. The winner of far range is Mecha Godzilla 2021. Alright. Now, let's go back to close range. So, before I do continue, I want to make it clear it is 1-0 for Mecha Godzilla. Okay, close range is basically face-to-face. No restrictions whatsoever. Now, let's take something into consideration. So, Mecha Godzilla is 119.8 meters tall, so there is a little bit of a difference between the two, with Legendary Destoroyah being the bigger of the two. And so when they come face to face, and they're obviously gonna attack each other by ramming or some type of physical contact, Legendary Destoroyah is going to completely destruct Mecha Godzilla in a face-to-face clash. And Mecha Godzilla's gonna be thrown, if not a few million yards, right? Because how big and bulky and powerful Legendary Destoroyah is. And Legendary Destoroyah is going to overpower Mecha Godzilla almost every single time because of the super spiny skin that he has. And he's going to get a hold of him with the tail grip and start throwing him around and smashing him into buildings. Mecha Godzilla's not getting out of this. Mecha Godzilla can obviously use the Proton Scream, which is going to do definitely some damage to Legendary Destoroyah, and we already established this. Legendary Destoroyah's abilities are like, specific abilities like the Anti-Oxygen Blast and the Crown of the Fallen King Zap and so on and so forth are not really gonna do that much damage to Mecha Godzilla, but his body, his physical combat is just tips the balance. And I believe with the physical combat, I don't care how strong Mecha Godzilla tries to use his Proton Scream, physical contact, Legendary Destoroyah is gonna rip him to pieces, making this 1-1, actually tied. Ooh, yes. So, what's gonna happen? We are going to go to overtime. And basically in overtime, I just rated off their abilities and we choose a winner. So, let's begin with Legendary Destoroyah's abilities first, and then we'll move on to Mecha Godzilla, and then we'll see who the winner is. So, with Legendary Destoroyah, the abilities goes as follows: Anti-Oxygen Blast, Crown of the Fallen King Zap, Stomach Tongue, Tail Grip, Super Spiny Skin, and Eye Blast. Alright, fair enough. For Mecha Godzilla, however, we have the Buzzsaw Claws, Heavy Metal Durability, Missiles, Proton Scream, Thrusters, and Tail Drill. When I put 2 and 2 together, personally, Legendary Destoroyah's abilities appeal to me more, so because of overtime, the score is going to be 2-1 in favor of Legendary Destoroyah. Now obviously that is just my opinion. You can debate me in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, folks. Thank you, and as always, have a great and a wonderful day.